Hey friends, welcome back to my Sound of Him channel. I'm Ed, a composer-songwriter. Today we're diving into something really special. The Oscar and BAFTA winning film score by Daniel Blumberg for the film The Brutalist. So what makes this score so incredible? Does it really deserve those prestigious awards over the other contenders? TLDR? Absolutely! Daniel Blumberg has created something truly unique here. An unconventional score that uses all sorts of fascinating sounds like squeals, construction sounds, free jazz that pull you right into the film's world. It perfectly captures everything from brutalist architecture to post-Holocaust migrants pursuing the American dream and all the emotional complexity of our protagonist László. This score does it all. It's grand, ambitious, haunting, unsettling, delicate, romantic, and sometimes completely wild. I bet you're curious now what this score actually sounds like, right? Let's break it down together. And don't go anywhere. If you want to hear me play the musical themes and motifs from this score, I'll be doing that in the final section of this video. First up, the magic of sound design. From the very first scene, you might think there's a massive orchestra playing, right? The music starts a little strange, but builds into this gorgeous American brass chorus. But get this, it's actually a smaller group of musicians, not even playing the same room, playing a small set of mostly wind instruments, such as the trumpet, trombone, French horn, tuba, soprano saxophone. Most interestingly, prepared piano, regular piano, drums, percussion, a jazz band, and even some 80s synthesizers. How cool is that? The two sounds that really blew me away are, first, those hammering knocks and thumps from the prepared piano. If you're not familiar, a prepared piano has small objects like nails and coins tucked between those metal strings, creating those tinny metallic percussive sounds when you press a key. This very film is about architecture and construction, so these sounds are totally fitting. Have you ever passed the construction site and stopped to really listen? It's a whole symphony of knocks, thumps, scrapes, drilling, which Blumberg has captured brilliantly using just musical instruments. The second outstanding thing about the sound design is the eerie squeals and screeches that sound like banshees or sirens. I'm pretty sure it's the trumpet player wheezing through his horn by squeezing his aperture into kissy lips with tons of reverb and delay added. You can hear these squeals and sirens in the first 10 seconds of the opening overture and also during the train crash scene. Well, if I'm wrong about the trumpet, maybe it's someone scraping the piano strings, or maybe the saxophone somehow making other sounds. Other than these crazy sounds, the combination of brass and jazz instruments works so wonderfully for the film's themes and the time period, which is the 1940s to 50s when jazz clubs were flourishing in America. Overall, the score feels alive, organic, raw, and sometimes guttural, like that strange saxophone that plays in the Carrara marble quarry scene. Listen closely to the score and you'll hear all sorts of textures. There's low shuddering sounds, there's high-pitched ringing, metallic scrapes, and more. Some tracks are intentionally unpolished, like the soft intermission piano music, where you can hear the pianist shifting on his stool, or the honky-tonk piano in the track titled Bath. Fun fact, Blumberg recorded a lot of this himself using just a Sonorax, dictaphone, and a couple of mics. If you have been following recent Oscar winners for Best Original Score, you have probably noticed contemporary composers relying a lot more on sound design and technology. Check out these notable composers I'm going to tell you next. Now, please forgive me if I butcher their names. There's Hilde Gunnadottir, Volker Bertelmann, Michael Levi, Zonlux, Ludwig Göransson. Moving on. Number 2. Blumberg's creative process. Here's something that might surprise you. Daniel Blumberg isn't classically trained. He didn't study at fancy music schools like Berkeley. It's actually admitted he doesn't know music theory. Traditionally, legendary composers like John Williams work with orchestras, and in their bag of tricks, they use composition techniques to create emotional arcs. But Blumberg is largely self-taught, trusting his instincts, embracing improvisation, and collaborating with musicians whose skills complement his own. The key word here is definitely collaboration. In his Oscar acceptance speech, he called director Brady Corbet his artistic soulmate. And I also love that Corbet played Blumberg's initial demos on set to inspire the crew and actors. It shows how much they trust each other's creative vision. So what makes collaboration successful? Well, mutual trust that allows for complete creative freedom, common shared values, and long-term relationships. So who are these musicians he collaborated with? Pianist John Tilbury, whom he had watched perform at Cafe Auto. He even moved into Tilbury's home for 2 weeks to work on the score together. Can you imagine the creative energy between Tilbury, who's in his 80s, and Blumberg, who's in his 30s? In his Oscar speech, Blumberg thanked his collaborators, calling them hard-working radical musicians and saying he was accepting the award on their behalf too. Now that's the kind of humility we all love to see. Number 3, musical motifs. The most recognizable motif starts with 3 ascending notes that repeat with slight variations throughout the score. You first hear it in the opening 10 minutes. That's during the grand, evocative brass chorus representing the American dream, László's ambition, and Brutalist architecture. It sounds like this. The second time you hear this motif is actually a delicate piano version that I think represents László's inner fragility and idealism. Then there is the insistent knocking. Then there is the jazz motif, which is not obvious because the saxophone is riffing off this melody, but it becomes quite clear later on in the New York scene. This is how it sounds like. There is the locomotive motif. I call it that because it sounds like a train. It gives you a sense of purpose and pursuit, and this is what it sounds like. The love theme between László and Erzsébet. Now I do have to be honest about a couple of things that confused me. First, the blurring between the diegetic and the non-diegetic music. Diegetic music is what the on-screen characters can hear because of some action happening. Non-diegetic music is what only the viewer hears. So there are moments where I couldn't tell if the music playing in the scene was diegetic or not. But this seems intentional since László starts losing touch with reality. So if you approach this as an art film, that makes sense. Second, the 80s synth pop in the epilogue caught me off guard. I understand they're showing a different era where brutalism is no longer relevant, but it felt a little jarring to me. Just saying. Now, wrapping up. If you haven't watched The Brutalist yet, yes, I know the runtime that goes for more than 3 hours can seem quite intimidating, but if you love A24 films, if you love film scores, if you love art films, I promise it's worth every minute. And now that you know what to listen for on the score, I think you'll appreciate it on a whole new level. Did you enjoy this breakdown? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comments below, such as which film score I should analyze next. If you want more content like this, hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks guys for hanging out with me today. I will see you next time.